Hi, welcome back to the lecture on the unemployment and the reserve army. Well, last time we have discussed the implications of the and limits of the Kaliskian methods, and one point was actually the uh, weight on the state demand was becoming larger and larger as states were to tax people. And maybe, well, once states starts to tax people actually uh, to finance those demands, initially tax might fall. That tax might fall upon them basically. People and workers basically instead of the corporations in order to have a more stable capitalism. In that sense, actually, the taxes on capital might be smaller and taxes on the workers might be larger, both high-end, low-income workers, basically. And then, basically, subsidies or any benefits that are actually directly helping the workers might be not that much preferred because that might basically make the workers better off when they are unemployed. And that's actually openly expressed. Actually, people are against the welfare programs, and then they say, basically, these welfare programs make the workers to work become more lazy, and they become when they are unemployed, they are more likely to stay unemployed because they have some income level. These arguments might be discussed, but the reason why these arguments are there might be very much explained by the Marxian economics. So basically, the wage share of the workers should be decreased, but in order to decrease that share, you should not give unemployed people an extraordinary power. That's the main point. So state should create demand, but that demand should not basically directly help the workers increase the living standards of the workers, especially low-income and unemployed workers. So what should be done? Well, state should, the two favorite type of demand that is created is first security, internal security and external security. Prisons, police force, army, all of them are included in that sense. Actually, judicial system might even include it. This cool application of science, even to basically find the criminals, is also included. Well, you can apply science, make other type of applications of science also cool. For example, solving medical problems, but usually the most cool looking scientific application is in the United States, at least, mostly to fight criminals, basically. In addition to that, infrastructure, the roads. You build the roads again and again and again, actually. It's like the Keynesian. I mean, Keynes has told us once, I believe Keynes has told this. State should how state creates demand is actually not that much important. Basically, even if state creates demand by let people dig a hole in the morning and then let another group of workers to close the hole, that's enough. That will improve the economic conditions because it creates demand and it will multiply. You see in the United States and to some extent also in Turkey, roads being forever under repair, the infrastructure being forever under repair. That's one way for the state to create demand, certainly, the infrastructure. But even if you don't basically subsidize workers, then you are just avoiding the demand you create to help workers. But still, workers might get more organized, and basically, if you keep the unemployment rate low, if you keep the reserve army small, as a result, well, basically, the wage share might increase. Alternatively, you might need to have your reserve army or the unemployment rate increase. how do you prevent that? And that the answer to that question is given in another article of the Kaleski, and that's interesting. Well, he says basically, well, unemployment is keeping workers suppressed because those economic conditions upon one segment of the workers at least keep all the other segments, high income workers even, in line. I mean, they don't want to fall all the way back down to the unemployed segment and even below to the lower segments of the unemployed group or the reserve armies group. Without that pressure, under the economic pressure over the workers, you need the workers might basically well, more control, more share. How do you control that? You can only control that to replace the economic pressure with a different type of pressure, and that might be political pressure. So the political system should put a pressure over the workers. Well, is there a system that's doing that? Well, fascism, according to Kaleski, is doing that. So in fascist systems, you have a state that is stating rules, and those if anyone is breaking those rules that are making the economic system function, state is basically punishing those people, including the workers, including to some extent also capitalists. The competition between the capitalists are also regulated and stabilized by the fascist governments to some extent, of course. I mean, there are also conflicts within the government usually. So, but there is a lot of discussion on fascism. I mean, which system, to which spectrum of the politics it is more closer. But looking from the economics perspective and looking from the also the Marxian perspective, basically, you have private property, you have the same type of class structure. Workers are working for the employers, but now all those relations are stabilized and protected by the state. So it is same economic relations of the capitalism, and stabilized and protected in an extreme sense. So it is considered an extreme sense or extreme version of capitalism. And basically, interestingly, interestingly, in the United States, in the late 20th century, in 1950s, 60s, 70s, there were a lot of people who were actually supporting free markets, and they were actually also wrote that the United States government was increasingly becoming more fascistic, with the internal security system, CIA becomes more active, or with states and political system becoming more stabilized and becoming more incarcerating, getting more people into the prison, even more than China today or Iran today. Even in current world, actually, you see many countries that are to some extent resembling the fascistic stable controlled system, where the system is more stabilized by political sources. Is becoming more and more common in the world, or at least many people think that's the case, basically. So Kaleski interestingly made a claim. He says the fascism is maybe the stable, the low unemployment or zero unemployment version of the capitalist system. Interesting. And for both of them, I basically encourage you to make more research. Look to the data. If you're interested, especially look to the what happened to the weight of state demand, how the tax policies has changed. Did the debt of the states increase? Look how the debt of the states has evolved after 1940s and 1970s, especially. Look to the way state is spending its money, how it has changed after 1940s and 50s, basically. And well, political pressure. If you are interested, you can also look to this discussion, on which there are actually a variety of arguments. Not an agreement. There are different ways, actually, looking to the fascist system and looking to the political developments today. But if you are interested first, you might read Kalitsky's articles, since it has a very interesting perspective on this thing, on this, let's say, political system. Lastly, we will look to the Phillips curve again. Well, we will look to the Marxian Phillips curve, but first I should say, Phillips curve was used first by Keynesians to show how to get low unemployment levels. So even if you have some real inflation, you might have full employment or very low unemployment rate. But later in 1970s, there was the inflation was starting to increase exponentially. So maybe they said unemployment rate, a low unemployment rate, is not creating a stable small inflation rate, but it creates an ever increasing inflation rate. So now, basically, neoclassical economics has modified the Phillips curve, and they actually had told that actually when you have low unemployment, you don't have just a small or a stable inflation, but you have an increasing inflation rate, because you should take also expected inflation into account. So, well, there is also one major Marxian economist, actually, although he doesn't call himself Marxian, but he thinks that he understands Marx better, or as much as even better than Marx, and he's very much inspired by Marx. Emrah Sheikh, basically, he has actually modified Phillips curve in a different way. So I have his article in the reading list, but let's look at his study. He actually modified the Phillips curve to test Marxian predictions. So in Marxian case, the more important thing is the wage share. So not wage itself, real wage itself, but how much share the workers are getting out of the production. So he uses wage share, and then he said the number of unemployed people is just one aspect of unemployment. The other aspect is the length of unemployment, how much they are staying unemployed. So he multiplied this and unemployment rate times the average unemployment length, and he found unemployment intensity in the economic system. And using them, he has found for different years, he has found the unemployment intensity and the wage share for different years, and looked about how the United States economy has gone after 1940s. So here is his results. Well, as you have seen, you see here, the unemployment rate starts to increase. That's this scale. Well, in 1940s, the wage share was increasing. Actually, it's not wage share, but change in wage share, by the way. So this 1% means the wage share has increased in 1949 by more than 1%, actually, between 1% and 1.5. But after 1940s, basically to 1977, the unemployment rate has increased, and as it starts to increase, the increase in wage share starts to get smaller and smaller. So up to 1977, wage share has increased, but at ever decreasing rate. So then you got to 1983. Well, up to that point, the unemployment rate increased more, and the wage share starts to decrease. The capital share starts to increase, and then you have a shift in the system. So unemployment decreased, but basically the wage share continued to decrease also. The increase in wage share, change in wage share remains negative. So you have a shift in the system. This is the Reagan era, which is considered as a major success. And I will talk more about that era and also on this curve in the next part of the this lecture. So see you then. That will be probably the last part of this lecture.